man clears a field, sows a field, and then there's a war. He's called to fight for his brothers. But then the general will say, has anybody sown a field, prepared a field, and never tasted the food of that field? And if he raises his hand, let him go. He's not to fight in the battle. Because God says if you work for something, you're supposed to be rewarded. The one that sows the seed is the one that ought to reap that harvest. Look at 1 Corinthians chapter 16. That when you work, you're supposed to bring what you've prospered to the house of God. So you'd be ready to share, that you might prosper even further. In Malachi, bring all the tithes, bring the storehouse, so that I could open up the windows of heaven and bless you mightily. One of my favorite workbooks, the leadership books, is The 1 Minute Manager. I don't know if you've ever read it. It'll take you like 10 minutes to read them. But it's a great book. And in the 1 Minute Manager, he says, hey, when you're managing somebody, make sure they understand their job. Have them write down what their goals are. Have them write down what their purpose is. And then right away you can evaluate, are we doing the right job? In Galatians chapter 6, it says, let each one test their own work. Look at Luke chapter 14. It says, before a man goes to war, he evaluates. Do I have enough soldiers? How strong is the opponent? Do I know the terrain? Do we have enough supplies? Jesus said, before a man builds a tower, he sits down and he evaluates. Will this pay my bills? Is this enough? Is this the path of life I want to go on? Look at Proverbs chapter 24. By wisdom a house is built. By understanding and knowledge the rooms are filled up. You have to ask yourself, is this work? There are a lot of young people that are tired and they didn't even work. They slept in, they relaxed, and then they want to take a nap. You want to take a nap from your napping or what? That's not even work. You got 4 side hustles that cost you more money than you get paid. You have to evaluate, is this even worth doing? Look at Proverbs 14:23. In all toil there's profit. But when we talk about things, it doesn't lead to anything. The slack hand causes poverty. In 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, Paul set it down, if a man does not work, he does not eat. Examine yourselves to see if what you're doing is really work. And then I'd ask you this important question. Is it your work? Getting a haircut nowadays can be expensive. I see quite a few of you guys just shaved your head. Good for you. You save a lot of money. With our family, my wife always cut my hair. That's why I always look so stylish. They say, man, Pastor, this nice haircut is styled because I got a stylish wife. What can I say? And she'll cut my kids' hairs. And there was a time when I said, you know what? I'm going to save some money. I'm going to save her the ever. I'll cut my kids' hair. That lasted like 8 seconds when I cut their ears. They were bleeding. Now they'll never let me try again. Trying to do something you're not good at doing is the wrong thing to do. Not only ought we to work, but you got to find your work. Somebody tried to cut the grass the other day using hedge clippers. They failed miserably. That guy was me. I should have got a lawnmower. Nevertheless, it looks like a bad haircut out there. In other words, you might be doing work, but it might not be the work that you're supposed to be doing. In Proverbs chapter 24, verse 27, it says, prepare your work outside. In other words, there's something for you to do. You ever talk to a boxer? What would they tell you? If you can do any other job in the world, do that one. Because this one's a hard job. I hear the same thing from pastors. If you can do any other job in the world, do that one. But if you're called to do something, that's the thing you need to be doing. God's got a specific work for each and every one of us. And sometimes we feel discontent and dissatisfaction because we're doing the wrong work. It's one thing if it's work, and all work is profitable. All work is good. It's good that we're exerting force and energy and making an income. That's important. But secondly, you've got to find the work that God has called you to do. Look at Ecclesiastes chapter 3. Even though Solomon saw a lot of vanity, he said, but there's one thing that's good, that man would fear God, that man would find a job he would enjoy, and he would work with his hands, and he would love his family. This is the best thing in life. Amen. Let me ask you this. Is it an eternal work? Does it matter in the kingdom? Look at John chapter 6, where Jesus says, you guys work and you toil, but you eat and it's gone. It doesn't last. And maybe that's the saddest thing, is giving your life to endeavors that you weren't supposed to give them to. You might even be successful, you might make a lot of money, and then you come to realize all of that was nothing. It's like, I'm going to climb the tallest mountain, and then you climb and you toil and you fall and you get there, and then you realize it's the 10th tallest mountain. You're like, wah, wah, wah. I chose the wrong mountain. I wanted to do something great, and now I've done something, well, pretty normal. You see, we often work and labor for things that perish, things that go away. In Proverbs chapter 16, commit your work to the Lord, that the Lord might establish you. I can't